Oops, sorry.
Tap it around. You don't know well, close to Bitter Lake, right by the community center. Isn't that right?
Right on the window.
Up that around, thank you. Okay, so tonight we have S-Dot. Very happy that they responded to us and our needs. A couple other things. Thank you for coming tonight and being a part of our holiday community. We are run completely by volunteers. And we have. All right. Is it on?
Yeah.
Is it on?
Yeah.
It is on, good. Thanks, thank you. Okay, a couple of things of business we need to take care of. And that is, we're putting together a nominating committee to work on the next set of officers in the club. Okay, so if you are a member of the club, you get to vote right here and now. Okay, here are the names for the people that have volunteered to be on the nominating committee. So we have to make it official. Okay, the first name, what do you know? Randy Partners. How many? Well, I think not. I think I'm going to do it individually. I think it'll take a minute, but I think we should do that. Anyhow, okay, hands down then. And the second person that's interested to be on the committee is Sean McPherson. Raise your hand, please, for Sean. Okay. I see we have a lot of outsiders. That's pretty amazing. Yeah. And the third one is Marita Neiman. Please raise your hand for Marita Neiman. Is Marita in the room? Okay. All right. So that business is taken care of. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention from our membership person, Don Thornton, raise your hand, please. He just wanted to remind me, we're always looking for membership. And if you want to find out about membership, you can talk to Don back there. Okay? All right, let's see. I think that's about it. I think I missed anything. And Drew, you want to come up? Introduce yourself from S-Dot and his people also from S-Dot. So here you go, Drew.
We have shared the topic updates with you. We have some exciting new designs to share, fresh off the press today, actually, right before this meeting, and some other ones that maybe you already heard of. So we'll go through our presentation. Before we get started, I want to cover our general kind of housekeeping, what we're going to be going through. So our vision, mission, and values at S-Dot is always that we're a thriving ethical community and that we are powered by dependable transportation. We're a mission to deliver a transportation that provides safe and affordable access to people and opportunities in places. So one of those core values that we bring into every single project we do, which is brought into this one, is equity, safety, mobility, sustainability, livability, and excellence. So we hope that we can have all of those with us today. Please tell us if we haven't. So today's meeting purpose, we'll share the designs for a couple of our projects. First up will be the First Avenue Northeast shared use path. That's on First Avenue between 130th and 117th, right between 12 and Elm Street. And then Northeast 130th Street and Northeast 125th Street, mobility and safety project, a very precise, simple name to say. And that's the one that goes from First Avenue all the way down to Little Lake City. The other part of being here is that we can answer your questions and get your feedback on what we're talking about, tell you more about the project. So get into kind of what we're doing. So Mike Ward here is the project manager for the First Avenue Northeast Shared Use Path. So we first off talking about the project, give an overview, go through the design a little bit. We have a couple upcoming events to attend, so hopefully you'll be able to join us there and then just take some question and answers. When we're done with that, I might have to talk, we'll budget about 30 minutes for each topic, so a 30-minute round set off and move along. Then we'll get to Northeast 130th Street, where Janet Lariz is our project manager. She'll run through the thing, run the show for that. And then if we don't get to your questions tonight, we either run out of time, or think a little more specific and we want to get to a detailed answer, we'll get back to you, and you can always find us after the meeting, ask that question, and you can take it down and figure out how to get back to you. No further ado, Mike here.
Well, I can know myself, okay, good start. Okay, yeah, my board and the project manager, Seattle DOT, this is for the First Avenue development shared use map. And just got the project, I thought it was a sidewalk project, no, it's something a little different here. And so, a little background is this was a result of a fair amount of community feedback. There was a effort a few years, some years ago with the Northeast 130 shoreline multimodal access study. And in large part, I think that was done because we had a south traffic issue coming up at North 130 and I-5. And so we wanted to make sure that we take the groundwork for getting a good infrastructure that will lead to and from that station. And so they had, direct conversation with stakeholders. I wasn't around for that. Drew has some more background on that one for people who have questions about how that came about. And so, we can answer those questions. And so the drivers that came out of that were, sidewalks on First Northeast from North 117, was that 17th to 130th. And the 130th and First is where we're going to tie into that's the second project that's being presented tonight by Janet. And so the program so I've been with SDOT now for almost 20 years as a project manager, but I was away for a while doing work on waterfront. Then I came back and again to realize we have a lot of programs now. The Safe Routes to School is a major program that's been developed over the past several years that does projects like these. We have 40 people who get involved in developing those projects, setting the tone, and then setting up some funding so that it goes over to someone like me. So Safe Routes to School, keep that in mind. And so it's, in and around schools. So obviously, James Baldwin. I actually grew up in Northeast Seattle, so I went to Pine Ridge Elementary. And a lot of people I knew in the neighborhood went to what we call North Bay. So, and then we got the property improvement project. 25th, if you want. Then, actually 2 and 2 North Vegas Park at the North End Park project. We got that there. Okay, so like I mentioned, shared use path. So it's basically we're going to go with a 12-foot concrete path along the east side of First Avenue Northeast, starting around James Baldwin, and then heading north along the east side up in 130. And so that's kind of the project area. And just letting you know, we're able to do this together with some drainage facilities on the east side because the existing 2-lane roadway that's been there for many, many years, probably since the 20s when this place was built. For a variety of reasons, the 2-lane roadway was offset to the west within the right of way. So, the roadway is more shifted to the left. And so that's why there's a lot more right of way space on the east side to do what we're doing here. So I want to make sure people understood that.
That's why you chose the east side
Correct.
and the school's on the west side.
Yes.
And it's not safe to cross the street now.
Yes.
And so you're gonna tell me that you're gonna expand the sidewalk and create safety, and yet they still have to cross the street when people do 90 miles an hour down the road.
Okay. So we are going to have process improvements built into our projects. A lot of that will entail, obviously, striping, and there's going to be some physical improvements as well. And so, yes.
You took down the red flashing light and helped people identify that weren't used to First Avenue and clean it off the freeway.
Okay.
To help people identify that was they may be crossing on 125th and First.
Yes,
And I was one of the ones that went out and talked and wrote, don't do that.
okay,
And I live on the corner and I can hear a lot of traffic problems as a result of that. Can you, for God's sake, put a flashing light back up?
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question because other folks might not be able to hear?
okay, so first question was, the concern about, since we're putting our facility on the east side of the roadway, the opposite of, because we have all on the west side. And so, but to, you know, kids being able to cross First Avenue to get to our school. And so, you know, we are going to be looking at doing some crossing improvements and work with the school on that over the next year or so. Yes,
With that, with the existing sidewalk that's already on the west side,
yes.
why are you not just doing that? Because you're cutting a lot more trees down on the east side, you're all that. So why are you not just staying on the sidewalk that's there?
Okay. I suspect, I could say there's not a lot of, I mean, there's basically, you know, shoulder parking right there.
There's sidewalks that on the other side of the road.
It's a fairly narrow asphalt path.
So
Okay.
it's a sidewalk.
Okay.
It's brand new too. It's a sidewalk.
In the area of Kings Bowl, but not further north.
No, there's a path the whole way.
No, I know there's a path that's the whole way now, but it's been there for a while and it's shouldered. But there's not, but like I said, the roadway is offset to the west. And so there's more space limited. That's why we're doing the east side. Sure.
Is the expectation that families that have children that live on the east side, or on the west side of the campus, north of 120, will cross First Avenue northeast to get to that path, walk down to 120th and cross back to
So, they choose to do that, some may not.
But more people live on the left side of First Avenue Northeast. There's now the population between 120th and 125th getting minimal access to that. The numbers are not, don't warrant a 12-foot path.
So the 12-foot path is meant for both pedestrians, for bike traffic, and other types of, traffic such as that. And,
That brings up another question.
sure,
Because I've written a couple of emails, and if I understand the last one, I got people that are on bicycles or e-bikes or scooters will be able to use that shared path or use the roadway.
correct.
Why are you allowing e-bikes and scooters that are going 15, 20, 25 miles an hour on that path with our children? That just seems crazy.
Sure.
So just so you understand,
Yeah.
so for children,
Mhm.
elementary school children
Yep.
coming from the school
Okay.
that will cross the street at the church, that's the greatest impacted corner here that we're
Mhm.
talking about.
Yeah.
There's, 5
5
children.
What we're saying,
on the east side. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Five children
Okay.
that will cross the street
Okay.
on any given school day.
Mhm.
Okay, just so you know that.
Okay.
Also, the city has delineated several times in the past
Mhm.
that bicycles, scooters, and pedestrians don't interact well.
Mhm.
Now, with the pathway that you're suggesting,
Mhm.
we have power poles that won't be moved. We have a lot of issues that interrupt that pathway. Now you have high-speed traffic
Mhm.
with pedestrians.
Mhm.
It's not gonna work out so well. So
Okay.
the big communication is about safety and
Mhm.
community, and we're putting people at risk now with this design. You are shifting, this design calls for a shift in the roadway where people are actually losing a considerable amount of historical property. I'm not saying the line was right. I understand the line was improper
Sure.
and the road was placed improperly
Sure.
in the 40s. But you are gaining now 10 feet to the east
Mhm.
And now you're gonna leave the road pretty much in the same place.
Right.
And then you're gonna use all this space to the east for an impractical sidewalk that's gonna cause pedestrian traffic problems. And then down the road, I'm sure DOT's gonna wanna put a sidewalk in on the west side. And that's all just gonna narrow up the street so it's not gonna be usable. Right now, what we have by the school, the new school, with all the sidewalks that have been pushed out, you can't get two utility trucks going bi-directionally at one time.
Okay.
Believe me, I live there. I've been here.
Yeah.
I've been here a long time. I understand there's.
That answers the question.
The important part is now we're talking about other service vehicles, including
Hey,
ambulances.
folks,
for
let's give him a chance to get through his presentation a little bit.
Well,
We can ask questions. And
Just to, we have a section for questions after, and we'd really like to get kind of all the project information out there and then start asking questions so we can kind of get you the details about what's coming up. Some of these questions we will address here already, and then right when Mike's done, we'll just right back into questions. But I want to kind of let him finish up this talk. I think you have great questions. Let's kind of get through the rest of this, and then in about 5 minutes, we'll have the chance to kind of go through them all. And if we can ask questions, let Mike get an answer in first. We'll take them one by one. I appreciate these are all great questions, but they're kind of coming rapid fire. So we want to make sure we address them. So if we can kind of get a raised hand, we'll call on you, and then Mike will answer you, and then we'll go to the next.
So let me finish up
Also,
this one
hold on,
moment.
sir. We're setting up
Talking
a-
about information.
Hold on, sir. We're setting up a microphone and we want to give people a chance to ask questions. Maybe I can come up to the mic.
So I thought it was
Okay,
open.
please finish. I just want to let you know that in a moment,
Thank
we're
you.
going to let people ask
Yeah,
questions.
just give us some information exactly how wide the streets will be when you're finished with this project.
Okay.
Because on any of the information given to a limited amount of people in the neighborhood, there's no numbers
Okay,
on the language.
sure.
It's very clever.
It's not necessarily very clever. It's one of those things we're working on, and we're right now. Or you have to put, I'll kind of move on, but we're keeping the same lane widths and dimensions on the current 2-lane roadway going north of the street. We're not gonna change that. Okay,
You asked me if it's okay, so I'm gonna tell you right now by the school, it's not okay.
okay, I'm saying north of the school. I
And it's
understand, I
changed.
understand there's some improvements adjacent to the school.
North of the school,
Yeah.
east of the school, it's changed. People are having trouble driving by both directions, and when there's school buses available there, they have a stop and go issue.
Please stop if we want to move on.
I'm just asking for more information on language.
And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna
Question later.
And we'll get answers to you. We'll get the questions down, and we'll get back to you at lunch. If we don't have them tonight, we will do that. Okay,
One more thing, so from now on, all questions are gonna go through the mic, because we have people on Zoom and we wanna also record this. So then we actually, everyone gets to hear what the questions are. So, thank you.
okay. Okay. So, yeah, expect the bike lanes from just south of 120th to 120th and north 117th, where the existing sidewalk starts and ends. We are going to be putting in new 88 compliant curb ramps as part of our project. And that may entail someone, mostly we're going to obviously on the east side. And we're going to look at where we need to be on the west side, where it's, where it's, what works, where it makes sense. Crossing improvements at north 125th, but we've got some work to do. And then also at 120th. So those are very important because, like I say, I'm concerned about people being able to cross. Okay. And also too, we've got some drainage improvements going in with our project. We're gonna have, one nice thing about having room on the east side is we're gonna have some drainage facilities, conveyance that'll be able to handle, current runoff issues that we have, along the roadway. Okay, and you can kind of see from the cross section here, the current design, but I'll stand back a little bit. I want to go with the proposed street, you can kind of see where it does a better job of showing on the offset. You go on the left side, here, you kind of see where the roadway is offset, so offset to the west. So that's kind of what the image will show. You get that on the east side, and you can see we got a drainage buffer, which is gonna help because it's gonna provide separation between travelway traffic as well as people using the use of the 12 path. So we're gonna have some, you know, some distance. As part of our design. Okay, we are very early in design, and so you are catching us at a good point. We're going to go throughout design through the end of the year. And we've got, you know, a very good outreach program, so it's not like we're gonna leave people hanging on, not answering questions, not addressing. Get out there. So the idea is we've got planning and design this year. We may pause a little bit of design in 2025, we'll just kind of see where we're at. But the idea is we want construction going on in 2026, because that is when the new John Francis facility will be open. We're currently working on that now. Okay, what's next? We've got another outreach, so join us Sunday, March 17th. We're going to be at the James Baldwin School from 10 to 12. And then, you know, we're going to schedule meets. We've got, obviously, there's a lot of, you know, single family homes along the east side of the roadway for which our path will be next to. And so we're meeting with those folks to, you know, kind of one-on-one, get to know them a bit, kind of show them what we have in mind. So we're going to look at them on their conditions. And then obviously you can see your keep in touch. You can see the project website. We've got some email address. Obviously, feel free to use that. But this is a year, I understand, obviously, 35 or 10 minutes of this with a lot of concern. And, you know, and they're important, you know, serious. You know, this is the year to do that, try to address that and see where we can go with it. So, and so this is the part where we talk about questions. And so then let me sit up. We have a mic.
Yeah, hi, just wanted to say things, on the project, we appreciate the.
It's a,
It helps. I mean, we got it with a few inches. Yes.
Okay. Just want to say thanks, for engaging on the project, and we can think about multimodal, transit, as we're learning to the neighborhood, but we're a young family, we like to bike, you know, get around, we would absolutely use it as is, but also as defined by community, which I understand there's a lot of comments to be made that are constructive, confident. I have other than to encourage you to do this projects and projects like it, access to schools, to transit, parks, and this one does, and it's comes to all three. So thank you.
My family's lived on First Northeast for almost 40 years. So your projection, which is what you're saying, you were projecting that this street of 12 feet, is it set in stone? Is it something that absolutely this is what you're doing? You're saying it's projected, but you're not giving any information. You're saying, hey, I'm going to take, you know, 3 feet of drainage and another 12 feet. How close legally can you be to someone's front door? If their house is facing First Northeast,
Okay.
what is the distance that a sidewalk can be put from their front door?
What we've done throughout the city, this was back decades, is they tend to be very close in more developed neighborhoods. They tend to be things for people from that sidewalk within, I've done that on New Avenue 10 plus years ago.
So you're telling me that you can come within a foot of my parents' door?
So the property.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can be within a foot of the property.
Property.
So your projection right now is on the property line.
So we're not going to be on the property line. There is enough room on the west side. We're going to be away from the property line. It's going to vary up and down the street depending on how.
Well, in this
goes.
picture,
Yeah.
you shrunk all of this to make this look bigger.
And that was that's something
Shrinking
we
stuff
yeah.
to make up your distance. So when you say, like the gentleman wanted to know, what are you gonna do here in the roadway?
Sure.
It's, you're deceiving us by saying, oh, your house is gonna remain the same, but you're taking property. The value of my parents' property is going to dramatically change. They have a circular driveway. Now they're not gonna have that. If you take everything you're saying you're gonna take. that's an issue. And he's correct, on 120th, you can't turn the corner to First Northeast. There's no room.
Right.
You don't have,
For larger vehicles.
nope,
Gotcha.
just for a regular vehicle, you just can't get around the corner. It's a tough move. So, I think people, when you get to the things that put in and you are not shit.
Good to know. Okay.
Hi, Mike, I'm Suzanne. I'm also a 40-year plus resident.
Mhm.
And my house is set back a little, but I do have other issues.
Sure.
Since my house was built in 1940s, the planting, I think, is going to be right where you're going to need to have the shrubbery and such moved. And when the house was built, the setback was maybe 10 feet, not 12. So I need to have someone come out before I spend thousands of dollars trying to move a hedge and
Sure.
stuff
Yeah.
to come out and
Yeah.
look at that and draw a nice line on my sand, my
Yes.
grass. So I need to know, how do I contact and who do I contact? Because I need to start working on this fairly rapidly if we're going to know what it is. Also, the drainage issue we're talking about is not on the east side, it's on the west side of the road. Yeah, and that section that's by Corliss and 101st Avenue on the west side is a nightmare.
Yes.
So,
That,
yeah, if you can do something about that, it would be great. But,
Yeah.
so how do we get in touch and what do we do to get someone to come out and when?
Okay.
We start getting people out.
Okay.
I'll take that one. So over the next month or so, as Mike said, we are very much in the early design process. These are preliminary designs. For those who aren't familiar, we typically have a 10%, 30%, 60%, 90%, then final design. At each one of those stages, 10, 30, 60, 90, we'll be coming out to you and providing information, and we'll take your feedback to refine those designs. So just wanted to say there's a lot of time for feedback, a lot of time for conversation with our project. What we can get the final design, start construction. So 10%, yeah, this is what we call 10% preliminary design. That's why those graphics, and I will take you through for that one. As I was making that cross section, I didn't realize I had centered the road instead of put it offset as it currently exists today. So there's confusion on that, on the current conditions. The one you see on the proposed is actually using what the street is made up of today, like where the street is located further to the west and in the makeup. So apologize for that. For the east side folks, who are gonna have their properties, obviously, this project will be much closer to your home. We're over the next month, I'm gonna start sending out emails and letters to y'all, inviting you to schedule a meeting with Mike and me. And so we can kind of come out, talk individually about what's going on at your property, where those lines might be and what concerns. We know a lot of you have put landscaping out there. It's obvious we know that especially north end, south end, when there's a lack of formality in how the road and that right of way is, a lot of people have nicely brought that into their landscaping. The city is often encouraged that, like, you can beautify the road. So we know it's a big impact, we know it's a big change, and it's kind of scary. So that's why we're gonna have individual conversation. I'll be reaching out, but you can always reach me at the email address on our website, First Avenue Sharing Path at seattle.gov, and that'll go to me and Mike, and then we can get those meetings scheduled. So we want to have those conversations, want to kind of talk through. Mike will bring the big old technical plan sets, we can look at where we have the property lines, what our project's looking like. So a lot more to come on that, so make those folks decide.
I live 2 doors north of Grayson,
Yep.
on the west side.
Yes.
The sidewalk is not raised.
Mhm.
There's cars that drop off their students, they're parked on the fog line,
Mhm.
blocking part of that sidewalk.
Yeah.
Why not put a raised sidewalk in between 122nd and 120th?
Mhm.
That'll keep the water off of the sidewalk,
Okay.
the runoff off the road.
Mhm.
So I get water down my driveway and it's coming from 122nd all the way down to 120
Yes. Yes.
because of the crown of the road.
Yep.
And with a raised sidewalk in there, even with compensation, for the driveway,
Yeah. Yeah.
it would keep a lot of that runoff
Yeah.
out of my driveway,
Yeah.
out of my garage.
Yes. Yes.
And that's my major issue, is just the sidewalk.
Yeah.
and the parking for the school.
Mhm.
There's no parking for those students, except at the North Seattle Church
Okay,
has offered parking in their lot, but nobody wants to park there because of the curb
okay,
at, 122nd and,
okay,
that angle there.
yeah, yeah,
That's a dangerous angle. My wife and I walk to church there,
sure,
and we have to be careful because people are coming around there like it's a racetrack.
yeah,
And that second point was speed bumps.
mhm,
Now, over on Meridian, there's several school districts up that way
uh-huh,
that have these little short bumps that
yeah,
you can't even call speed bumps. They kind of offset the call.
okay.
My suggestion would be
Mhm.
putting in a speed bump, standard size,
Sure,
but not straight,
okay, okay.
at a chevron across the street,
Okay,
because the cars would block.
yes,
Nobody likes to go fast across the speed bump like that because they'd be wrapping their head against the door.
yeah, yep.
That would be a major discouragement.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, okay. If anyone else, we had a, in that case, or this gentleman attended and told us about this front off, simply going into the garage. Basically, that was, so it was really good to know some good stuff. And so we'll definitely be reaching out, but like I said, hopefully on the handouts, you have an email address. Please use that. That's a good help. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I totally think that the sidewalk is valuable. I'm a little bit concerned about the size of it. And it kind of feels like we're just making the size of the space available.
Mhm.
But the core project goal is to create a safer, more comfortable walking, biking, and roll environment that reduces serious injury and fatal collision.
Mhm.
So I was curious what data we're using to collect, based off of the number of fatal or serious collisions.
Okay.
And specifically, how in other neighborhoods, specifically like a 12-foot sidewalk has reduced that versus like just say like a 6-foot or just like a normal size
Okay.
sidewalk.
Okay, okay. I think. So when I did a project like 10, 15 years ago, we would have, from 105 to 112. For those of you familiar with that area, that was more of a standard sidewalk on the new material. And you can see that we put in the sidewalk as you're indicating, they're like typically 5 feet, space for trees, the 4-foot minimum for the ADA, because that's kind of what the state would allow us to the major bike route or the major grade now. And so, on that kind of street, that's what was appropriate. What the city has been going closer, since then, is toward more of a bike-friendly environment to complement, the pedestrian on sidewalks. And so, my personal opinion is we'll definitely do some research. I'm trying to reach out to other projects that are similar. They may not be as long, my guess. So, but it's kind of a work in progress. The gentleman here was concerned about power poles being in this local light facility. We're going to have power poles moved so they won't be in the facility. But I think we need to put some thought and care into how we maybe stripe and or channelize things that go with that. So, but a big part too is, like I say, this is meant to accommodate once personal opinions that they found for good, and I'm a lifelong traveler, so but once you put in a life group, and then you put it you can get a lot more foot traffic and get a lot more traffic for people on dual lives. But for example, everybody's on over that, talking about that. If you're an adult, or nothing. Honestly, what I just tell my town on waterfront, we have a dedicated bike built into our project, is those folks who really like to commute, they like being on the road. And so we anticipate those folks making more use of the roadway than the school path. Yeah, that's just something we're gonna have to work on as we make more use of it.
Have we ever considered just making the road wider versus and the sidewalk smaller? Like, how many bikes better on the roadway as well. It'll be pretty wide.
Okay, I can take that back, to the folks who are the sponsors, I can do that, and see if I can sponsor that. Again, when I was given this project, it was a mandate, like, just like I got presented here.
All right, thank you.
Question is, you said you're gonna get with the people that live on the one side?
Oh, we're definitely on the east side, there's 25 properties more on the east side.
Excuse me, on the east
I
side.
mean, yeah. And for those who live on the west side, we hear about, because they're all neighbors, you know, people live here. And, you know, people talk to each other, and obviously, we want to talk to people on both sides, because it's good to hear. One thing about having a project, a major project coming into a neighborhood, it's an opportunity for people to talk to someone at desktop with dedication.
And another quick question is on the drainage buffer on the east side.
Yeah.
3 feet?
It's gonna vary, they're probably 5.5 feet is what we're thinking.
Okay, so where are you gonna move our mailboxes to?
So that's something we work with the post office on. And so we'll be working with adjacent property owners, with their lots, with the location, and with the postmaster to best work that out.
Another question was, what about the sewer line? So if we have to replace the sewer line from our house, here's its connection, we have to replace the cement now.
Yes. Yes, I do.
So you're gonna check out all our lines before we put into this situation?
Oh, that's a good thought. So I can talk to sales facilities on that one. Because if I'm not mistaken, it's the responsibility of the property owner on their site sewer as it comes up to them. And I can talk to SPU and get back formally on that one and see what they recommend.
My side sewer is my property line in Vermont, so you want my sewer line from my property line.
If I were to get, I'd replace them. But what I'm saying is, you know, then yeah, I'm not sure what the ways that the sewer main is on the site.
My house has been there since the 40s.
Right, and at some point in time, maybe you started out with the drain field, and then went to a sewer main, I'm not sure, so I'm not sure what the advantage is, I just want to go into that one, but typically, I prefer to set up facilities. But you're responsible for the sewer, right, sewer outlet. The main. I'll confirm that with SPU if I'm wrong, we'll definitely, either way, we'll let you know.
Okay.
And I found that out myself, because I got a duplex over in the Holman Road. And I had some issues, and so I had to hire a contractor, we had to remodel my sites were all ready to main. And that was on
I live over on First.
Okay.
And I, again, have written a couple of emails.
Okay.
I have a lot of concerns. One is I asked what was gonna happen at 125th,
Yep.
that intersection. And the last email I got was that you would support many designs, and you think that what we currently have is the best. And I would like to say that's not true, because that intersection up there is such a disaster that SPD, the fire department, ambulance services, and people want to avoid turning off of Corliss onto First to go northbound, come straight down First Avenue Northeast, turn left there to go north. In the last 24 hours, there have been 3 near miss accidents at that intersection. Now, that's just the last 24. 3 or 4 weeks ago, somebody ran the stop sign, which you cannot even see when you're on 122nd. Since then, I asked for the stop line to be put, but every car is stopping a full car length in front of that stop line so they can get out and turn. One car ran the stop sign, went right up my side yard. And I think for their sake, if they had not hit my recycle bin, they would have been in my backyard. So that intersection at 125th, I'm sorry, it is a total disaster. Nobody knows when to go. People coming off of Corliss half of them are trying to get into the First Avenue line and use that stop line and go. The other half are just going right through while somebody else is going. And there's gonna be a major wreck. If it's not there, it's gonna be right in front of us. Okay. And the other thing is that have you been spent time on First Avenue Northeast during school commute time and in the afternoon, I think you need to. Because those e-bikes, they're gonna go on that trail because they're gonna try to miss all that traffic. And they're gonna be going up that bike trail, either north or south at 25 plus miles an hour. Somebody's gonna get hurt, somebody's gonna get killed. And the distance that you are blocking for people that live on that east side to get out is gonna be another place where people get hurt. Because if we don't have a turnaround driveway, or back into our parking spaces around 122nd and First Northeast, you do not get out into the traffic. And you're really hard pressed to be able to get back in your driveway if you don't have the ability to do kind of a circular driveway.
One thing I've noticed, and I've been paying a lot of attention to specific driveway access with various properties. Everyone's a little different, because everyone has a, very amount of space. Yeah, our back of the path will be further away from the property line. Most places, you have a fair amount of space from the property line to their house, and therefore the driveway gets into the house. So that does help. Our properties don't have that option though. I get that. And one thing that we did on waterfront with our dedicated bike path is we put S-turns at every intersection. So what happens is they have to go through a minor S-turn. The people who are on the path, they're in a wheeled vehicle, whether it's, our guardian went our own, they've got to do a small S-turn, come to a stop at every intersection. So it's not going to be a straight shot all the way from 120 all the way to 130. It's not a straight line.
Well, there's only one street. There's only one street. They're gonna have a straight shot from 120th all the way to 125th, where they're not gonna have to stop.
So,
And then,
yep.
then from 125th up to 130th is gonna be a straight shot.
But what our design is looking at is even though the cross street is on the west side coming forward towards, is we still put an S-turn there. Because we want to enhance the crossing facility there. Let's get back to 125th a little bit, and I'm gonna have to work with my folks on the communication number one, and then number two, maybe on more specifics, because I think where they were going with this, and this is me being on the outside looking in, I'm gonna have to dive in, is turning movements, there's these softwares to really try to avoid the problem that this gentleman brought up about large vehicles being able to make proper turns at an intersection. We have software that allows you to get a certain size vehicle or designated certain designations, and we have a computer program of auto turn that helps us with that. I think for the people that are communicating to you, and we need to do a better job of this, I think there's some improvements that we can be made over and above this, is they've done auto turn to try to make sure that we're not restricting movement, that there's sight distance where people can see, but that doesn't specifically get to the problem of not doing maybe a four-way stop. There was a four-way stop at 147, and someone mentioned that earlier. I hope they don't want to get five-way, okay. So, but then one mentioned here, one gentleman mentioned speed bumps. I think there's a whole host of treatments that we can look at to make these intersections, this one particular, safer.
I think when they put in that whole thing,
Yeah.
they forgot that the fire department has hook and ladder trucks.
Mm-hmm.
And the turn radius to go south
Yeah.
and then turn on to Corliss isn't even big enough to get semis, which usually go there, or a big box truck.
Okay.
They have to go, in order to get the turn radius that they need, they come straight down 122nd and then turn to go north, or they come down northeast and turn onto 122nd to go towards Meridian.
Okay.
And that's not just first responders, that is people in the area.
Sure.
And the accidents that almost happened the last 2 days was somebody coming south on First, somebody coming out on 122nd to turn left. Now, they just came from where Corliss was.
Yeah.
So they're coming to avoid the mess up at 125th.
Right.
I mean, come down, come to my house and I will go up there
Sure.
with you
Oh,
and
yeah.
show you what's happening.
Yeah.
It's a disaster.
Yeah, I think we'll see that. So let's schedule time to do that, but time of day is important.
Yeah.
So let's do that.
So we do have another presentation to do after Mike, and we have a lot of people waiting for questions. Maybe we could move to the next person.
questions were student safety, as
Yeah.
far as the walkway that actually you end up with.
Sure.
The delineation between foot traffic and like that.
Right.
Steve.
Yeah.
Speak up.
Yeah.
So yes, a speed limit for the,
Sure.
for the wheeled vehicle.
Yes, yes,
And, definitely, we have, some infrastructure that's in place right now that only works during school hours.
okay,
It's a speed camera
okay.
that could be running
Oh,
more than school.
right, okay,
And,
okay.
we could probably see maybe another camera that,
Okay.
would stop us.
Sure.
For safety for the children.
Oh, definitely. Okay, yeah, that's a good suggestion. I appreciate that.
Hi, overlaid question.
Sure.
It looks like the plan is different between 117th and 120th
Okay,
than north of 120th. Can you elaborate on that?
one of the things I do miss not having here tonight, because, you know, it is kind of the cross section is very simplistic.
Yeah.
And what I can do is maybe work with you folks with a roll plot would be very helpful. The roll plot, what that is, I learned these in the waterfront when I was working on it, which was kind of the length of the roadway on a, basically an aerial view of the roadway that's scale. And we can put lines in that show it. That might be a better thing
Yeah.
to look at, we can actually get, yeah,
Because it said something about, yeah, the 12-foot thing, it sounds like it's only going to 120th, and then there's a bike lane that
yeah.
connects to.
There's a transition because
Yeah.
you've got north of 117, you've got the school on the west side, you have the churches on the east side, and halfway between 170th and 120 and 120. Halfway there, yeah, on the south, you've got already, but we're not gonna, you gotta do the transition. And that's what a road plot does, showing that,
But again, though, it seems awkward because you're basically then assuming like everyone is crossing the street, so 20th. Most of the people live on the west side.
right,
So I guess my related question is, you know, so there's no improvements to the sidewalk on the west side planned, and
Right.
yet, you know, there's
Sure.
a sidewalk on the thing, so
Okay.
to consider making that part of the project.
Okay. One question, because people, you're not the first, a lot of folks brought this up.
Yeah.
Parking on the west side, who parks there? No, I'm just talking about people between school and 130, who parks there?
On the west side.
On the west side,
There's not really, you're not supposed to put sidewalk, people park on.
that's what I mean. I know, I get that, so I'm supposed to do with our residents parking, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, well, and the school trip was, and then people in north, up north of 122nd.
Sure.
Now, when you guys take out everything, they will have no parking. Even if you say that you're gonna leave a gap,
Yeah.
they will have no parking. And I've been told that they will be able to park on the opposite side of the street, but
Good.
there's not totally enough space for parking.
Okay. So just a question, so, and the promise we're gonna look into it, there's obviously no guarantees, but what I did on Greenwood, when I got that project, it was all multifamily. There were 64 properties, a lot of shoulder parking. Because it was a 4-lane roadway built back, way back when. In section I did. I had to put in a 5-lane roadway with a median in the middle, in between the cross streets. And I had to put, like I said, sidewalk up until within a foot of the property line. And parking was really effective. And so I had to put each property owner multiple cars because it was multifamily. Now, on one side of the roadway, I got lucky. There was an alley out back that had people parking in these apartments and condos, and they absolutely didn't park. So then I had to work with each property to enhance the parking to accommodate one spot per unit. On the east side, we didn't have that. So I had, a lot of the buildings did have garage parking, a lot of them, I had to work with them to be able to get cars, you know, they're 4-unit, 5-unit, whatever, to be able to get enough parking for them to be able on their property. We had to squeeze a few things. And then I had to work with the neighborhood, say, well, for these particular, we're gonna have some, you're gonna see more additional side street parking on the side streets in these locations, so I had to negotiate that with some of the folks within that block. So it was definitely kind of a one-on-one. You know,
So we're not looking, it's not just residents.
yeah,
It's It's emergency vehicles, delivery drivers, and there's no place for them to show driveway to shorten. There's no place for them to even have blocking the entire street.
So I'm gonna have to see that in person. For me to visualize, because right now I'm seeing a lot of children.
Right now.
Right.
You won't. When you take it away, the streets are gonna be blocked. but-
Oh, I see what you're saying, right, yeah, right,
Like
yeah.
delivery trucks,
right, right.
I mean, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I get
It's
it.
not even tough, impossible.
Yeah.
Also, during the summer, that, like, people all along there.
Right.
So like that fills up when people live in the park, and it was pretty full, so there's not gonna be available to really.
Okay. So that's something that we'll take a look at the parks department.
Yeah, don't park on the sidewalk signs, they don't want.
Use it for.
Okay, well, this is really good information here because you mentioned that one gentleman between 120 and 122nd, you need to do something raised. As a new maybe. So it's kind of things like you do. I'm sorry.
To bring up something that was brought up before we jumped on the microphone.
Yeah.
But just about, this 12 feet mixed use, and why not take part of that for protective bike lane instead of discussing really dangerous and chaotic. And if your commuter bikes instead use the traffic lane, then that's just gonna cause problems for drivers as well, for cars.
Okay.
I just wanted to say with the distances you're talking with the 12 foot and all that, have you considered how many large old trees you're cutting down when keeping it on the side you're choosing versus saying when a sidewalk out of it isn't a large big tree?
So we are paying attention to the large trees, trust me.
There's several on the other side of it.
No, there's several along the east side. We get that.
And you just passed all the tree ordinance in the city, all the other stuff.
And they'll be thoroughly vetted as we do a project. And there's gonna be, there might be a small number that we may need to take down. But the majority of what I can see so far, we should be in pretty good shape.
Not in the park. Not
Oh,
the
the
other
park.
areas. No, you're cutting on a whole bunch of the park out. And
Okay,
you're taking
okay,
the parking lot for the park and the old structure
Okay.
that's there.
okay.
You've
So
got
let me be
down
clear, let me be really
the
clear.
street.
We're gonna be working with a parks arborist who's gonna be very, very on top of this. And
But they're
so,
on that side of the street, so you can't move the trees.
no, we can't move the trees, but we do have a bit of a buffer between the back of the walkway and the property. And most of those, if not all those trees are right on the property line. And so it's not so much the location of the trees is the issue, it's the overhanging branches and how we manage that.
But if you just put it on the other side or shorten the mixed use path by a couple feet, right? Like it makes a huge difference.
So,
So why if the safety issues in crossing the street, the sidewalk on the other side, the width, all of that stuff doesn't take where you want to put it.
well, right now, that's the assumption being made, but right now I'm seeing it from. Okay,
I know, yes, we're time for two more real quick questions. We want to get to the other ones.
Just real
Sure.
quick.
While we're doing the other presentation, though,
Yeah.
feel free to ask my question.
So near the elementary school.
Right.
James Ball.
Dave Baldwin, yeah.
The intersection at 120th and first, is there going to be a stop sign there?
Okay, well, that's something we're gonna look at. Right now, I don't believe there is one. You're talking about on north south on First, correct, yeah, exactly, yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah,
we're gonna
maybe
do that.
better.
Sure,
And then I guess there's another question, the trees, I was concerned about the trees, we do that every meeting. I think it makes more sense to improve the sidewalk, the walking path, and just put room for bikes, and it would be less expensive, and it seems more logical to me, so that's just my comment.
It's the guy with the loud voice again.
no worries, no.
I don't mean to be an insult to anybody.
Yeah.
I really embrace and I'm thankful for this Howler Lake community getting some service from the city. It's probably 5 decades overdue.
Yes.
And we all know that there's a lot of safety issues, a lot of corners, and improvements are good.
Yeah.
I would ask you, you say this is a 10%, in design stage, but we've seen all the survey guys out working now for well over 8 months.
Yeah,
And so we kind of see things a little differently.
Okay.
And we see things being impacted by the survey workers and lines being drawn in the sand. So
Okay.
we kind of have an idea that this is just being pushed out as the design. Also, is this design in concrete? We haven't poured any concrete.
We haven't poured any concrete, no.
Except by the school.
Okay.
And there's been some issues with, the sidewalks being poured and then chipped out and pushed out and re-poured. That happened 3 times on 120th and First.
Okay.
I witnessed it. So,
Okay. When you say chip down, you're talking about physically horizontally relocated?
yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
And so we see an escalation of land use there and
Okay.
a shrinking of the streets. But if this is not set in stone, is it possible that we revisit this design? And I say this with the simple fact that if we look at Meridian Avenue,
Okay.
they have wonderful sidewalks on both sides of the street. They have enough room for bikes going both directions. It's a bilateral situation here, plenty of room for vehicles of all sizes, and they don't compete. So when we're talking about safety and usability and just really common sense, it would make more sense that it would look more like Meridian. And again, I embrace change, but not stupid,
Okay.
not unusable.
Okay.
This all looks like it's being pushed through by regional transit. For the simple fact that you actually have mentioned several times, all about regional transit and making the marks, north to south. So if we have sidewalks on both sides, then both sides of the commuter pile would actually be able to move in both directions, and bikes on the street if it's appropriately constructed. So, my question I want to hear from you is this solid for real, or is
When I come
I'm
out-
willing to have some input here?
Okay, there's no some input, but I'm gonna come to you for the spring, for the low plot, that does show everything that you see here. And that's when we're gonna definitely get more feedback. And I'm gonna have other folks in USA attend that, you're going to take it on that one. So I'm just letting you know that's coming. Again, it's designed this year, it's partial design next year, we're not constructing until 2026. So there's time for input. And what I am hearing though, and this is something that, and this is, again, a back and forth that I think we're going to do with that. I mean, I feel confident that we're going to have really good intersection improvements to address a lot of those. Because I think we're supposed to do that. Okay. Just being honest, one of the things we're discovering is when you have young children on bikes, a 12-foot path or something similar to that is safer than being on the street. If that's something you're trying to get people to and from the park, putting it out there, because I think that was one of the impetuses for doing the 12-foot path to begin with. And so there's a cohort that likes to use the street, there's a cohort that likes to use sidewalks. And the Greenwood example I shared with you before is, now you're gonna, getting bikes on a 4-foot, 5-foot wide sidewalk is not good because more people are using bikes. And I think getting some more data on that progression would be helpful.
Again, I disagree with your assessment where wheels and tennis shoes go together.
Okay.
And if there's children, the most vulnerable people are the children and elderly on the sidewalk, and there's bicycles coming. We can look all across the city, including Linden, and we have a huge record of incidents.
Okay.
So I think there's a real fallacy here about the interaction of both of those.
Okay.
Thank you for all being here tonight.
So one comment I do want to make is that was a good time to bring this all up. So like you guys indicated here, I'm a lifelong resident. Sometimes all the stuff, when a major project comes in your neighborhood, it is a good time to bring all this and have a because we do what we do, and then we're not going to go away for another 30 years. You know what I mean? So that was the time.
So to that point,
Yeah.
I've been here 60+ years.
Yeah,
And I don't believe anyone in this room would not embrace positive change.
okay,
And so, you know, we know change
Sure.
is coming.
right,
This is
yeah,
a fact.
yeah, okay. Okay, I turn it over to Drew.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you everyone for those comments. Rebecca over here has diligently taken notes about all the questions, comments, concerns. Where we go from here, we'll all keep that. Mike will continue to review that with our planner and we'll continue to refine that design. And when we have the next update as we're heading to the next stage, that 30% that I was talking about, we'll have more details. And again, this conversation will continue on these designs and we want to hear from you in the next few months while we continue with this. So next up is going to be Janet, for the Northeast 130th and 125th Mobility and Safety Project. This is a good example of we're moving to the 30% stage on this one. So we have much more refined designs to share with you today. There's a lot to cover. So again, trying to do questions at the end, but there's a lot of real technical, not technical, but a lot of detailed information. We have an open house coming up on March 19th at the Lake City Library, the meeting room there at 4 to 7 p.m. So we're hoping you please ask questions, want to hear your questions and concerns or comments. But if you have really detailed questions, you know, we will have this extra opportunity where we're going to have the big old roll plots that Mike was talking about to kind of drill down on these specific improvements. Just want to give that frame. It's going to be a lot of information coming at you here in the next 20, 30 minutes. So we have an extra opportunity for you to take that long digestion and then come back and ask them more questions. There. Yeah,
Hi, everybody. I'm Janet Lloyd, and I'm also a project manager for FSA.
Rebecca, hold the mic up to your, yeah. Hold it up there.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm Janet Flores, and I'm also a project manager for FSA. This is the project I'm managing currently. I just did want to have one comment on something that was discussed. Mike's project was about the survey. And seeing the survey happening out in your neighborhood, that actually is something that happens first thing, project development. Because the project needs to be surveyed in order to start the design. So don't be concerned when you see surveyors around. It doesn't mean that the project is getting close to construction. It's actually, the project is just starting to be designed. So just want to put those concerns. All right, so the project I'm managing currently, and it's at about 30% design. It's the Northeast 130th and Northeast 125th Mobility and Safety Project. The whole goal of this project, how it got started, is to provide access to the new station at North 130th Street. That's being built by Sound Transit. It's being estimated that there's going to be about 90% of the people that use that station will be getting there either by transit, by bike, or by walking, because there's not going to be parking at the station. So currently, there's no buses that even travel that way. So this project is providing that, and also providing a way for bikes and head to get to the station. There have been a couple studies that have been done in the development of the stations. One was done by the Office of Planning and Development in 2019, and another one was done by FDOT in 2020. And there was a lot of community outreach done at that point. And what we heard from people at that time was that they were looking for upgraded sidewalks, bike facilities, and street mappings. Also, improved safety for people walking and biking along the corridor. And the I-5 overpass was also a big concern for people walking across that and biking. Also wanted to improve connections to surrounding neighborhoods and the light rail stations, or east-west connections, for adjacent neighborhoods to the light rail station, and bus stop upgrades. And this is the corridor we're making improvements on. Starting from the west, we're starting at this, we're looking at the project at Fifth Avenue, east and northeast of 30th Street. Moving to the east to Fifth Avenue and down
south on Roosevelt, and then cross back to the east on North 25th, all the way out to Lake City Way, and just a bit to the east of Lake City Way. We're still working on that connection to the east of Lake City Way, so we don't actually have an exact endpoint. So what we're planning, there's different sections of the project where we have different treatments. Can I go back? with
Yeah.
the aircraft arrow?
Back arrow, yeah.
There's basically three sections of the project. From the section from First to Fifth on northeast 130th, we'll have a 12-foot shared pathway on the north side of the street, and that includes going across the bridge. And then we'll transition, going down Roosevelt to a two-way protected bike lane, also on the northeast side of the street. We'll transition at 8th Avenue to a directional PBL, sorry about that, with bike lanes on each side of the street, starting at 8th Avenue, down to 10th, and then all the way east on 125th. We'll continue those directional protected bike lanes. So one on each side of the street. Additionally, the bike lanes will have a concrete barrier protection for the areas where they're, where we have the two-way protected bike lanes and the directional bike lanes. And the channelization of the street will also be changed. And I'll have some graphics with me. I think it will be easier to do that on the graphics. We also have a new roundabout plan at the intersection of Roosevelt Way, 125th Street and 10th Avenue. That will help calm traffic and improve traffic flow. We also have a safety redesign of the 3rd Avenue Northeast and Northeast 130th Street intersection to just have right turns out only at that intersection. We'll have bus-focused upgrades to improve frequency and reliability, including bus lanes in certain areas, bus priority signals, and new and upgraded bus stops, crossing improvements, such as lane pedestrian intervals. That gives people a little head start at the intersection to the front. New signalized crossing with flashing beacons, curb bolts to reduce crossing distances, crossing islands, and restricting the right turns on red at the intersection. We'll be doing a lot of sidewalk repairs and new curb ramps, and also including traffic calming features, some speed cushions, and turn lane medians to prevent passing. So here we are, starting with the graphics. Makes it a little bit easier to see what we're doing here. This is on Northeast 130th Street between 1st and 3rd. This is where we have the 12-foot shared use path on the north side of the street. And that continues all the way down to 5th across the bridge. You can see currently there's 2 lanes in each direction. But this cross section will be rechannelizing the road and will be 1 lane in each direction with the center turn.
Thank you.
Also, this is where the right turn restriction for 3rd Avenue south is going to be in place. So vehicles can only turn right out of that. Southbound 3rd Avenue. You can see the beginnings of the bus lane starting there on the east side. There's the rest of the bus lane coming across the bridge, eastbound direction. You'll have 1 through lane eastbound with the bus lane. And then going westbound, there'll be 2 lanes, one turning into a left turn pocket to get onto the southbound I-5 ramp, which that's not there currently. There's not that left turn ticket. Here we are moving down Roosevelt from Fifth down to Eighth. Eighth is where we had the transition. There's the two-way protected bike lane on the north side of the street. And we have transitioned to the directional bike lane south of this intersection at Eighth. And there'll be bike signals, to enable that. The change from the two-way to the one-way. Hopefully some curb ramps and some improvements to that intersection to help straighten it out the process. This is the roundabout. That's being planned at the Roosevelt and Fifth intersection. This is actually we were the first crowd to see this. It came about because we were running into difficulty getting the buses through this intersection. Currently, there's a slip lane here, and it's really quite a unsafe place for buses and pedestrians and bicyclists. It's a difficult spot, and our traffic operations, the group just really wanted to get rid of the slip lane at this location, and it's the right time to do it right now with this project. And this, with our team brainstorming ideas, this is what came back that will allow the buses to travel, because there's going to be a new bus route that goes up to the light rail station for the Route 77. But the Route 75 will still be running their current route. So Route 75 still needs to go through this intersection to the west on Northeast 125th and to the east. So bikes will have a protected bike lane coming through the roundabout. Pedestrians will have the RRFBs to cross each of the crossings to the roundabout, the flashing beacons. And you see the bus stops are on the east side of 125th, of the intersection, on 125th. And now we're continuing east on 125th. Not a lot to look at here. We have the directional bike lanes on each side of the street with protected concrete curbing. And not much else to see on this. The tunnelization doesn't really change much on this street because it's already one lane in each direction with the center turn lane. And we'll continue on here, 125th, continuing east. You'll see there's some bus stops along this pathway here. And some of the bus stops will be in lane with the bike lane coming up to the sidewalk level so that that's actually the place where people get off the bus. There'll be other locations where there'll be more of a floating bus stop where the bike lanes will come behind. There'll be a center island where people get off the bus on the island and the bikes go behind. It just depends on the geometry of that section of the road. All pretty much similar. We have a new crossing there at 20th for pedestrians. And we are shifting that bus stop is currently to the east of the 20th intersection, and it's going to be now at the west of that intersection. That
that was, it was a more logical place for it, and it's been requested by the neighborhood to have that change in there, so, it's, that's where it's at the moment, but we would love feedback on that. That's the, so that is the process. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I would say the median being center turn lane.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But this is actually a new RFP crossing here at, Looking Creek. There'll be a new pedestrian crossing. And we are down now to. We have more bus stops, more curb ramps, continuing down with the directional bike lane. More of the same, directional bike lanes, bus stops, and now at 30th, we're, you can see the very end of the westbound back lane coming out of that intersection. There's just a little bit of that lane here, coming into Lake City Way, in the westbound direction. Nothing really major is changing here, except we're fitting in the bike lanes. And there's going to be a lot of signalization upgrades and changes just to get the buses coming more efficiently as well with this project, and also adding bike heads for bike signals. Now, this project, as I mentioned, is at 30% design. And I think yearly, it's time to get some feedback from everyone, because there is time to make changes and to add things that you know, people think are really important and would be helpful to the project. And we do also, we're planning an open house on March 19th, from 4 to 7 at the Lake City Library. And we will have some pop-up events and we will quite have those dates yet. Any more questions?
So two things. One is the on-ramp at 130. That's a huge target for the members coming from both the east and west on 130. And, you know, we have like lots of pedestrians, lots of people on bikes going to the new light rail station right there and everything. I'm really worried about the kind of problem that'll happen with all the cars trying to get onto that on-ramp.
Right here.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's already an issue. Like I've been commuter biking since. And I go up and down this stretch that you just described all the time on my bike. That's my second thing that I wanted to talk to you about. But the first thing is I'm wondering how you're going to sort of mediate the sort of all the cars that are hurriedly trying to get on the on-ramp and coming from both directions and in a hurry because they're late. And with all the pedestrians and the bicycles, I have trouble getting across that on-ramp on my bike right now.
The 12-foot shared use path on the north side is meant for bicycles to be traveling there as well. And it will be connecting that Fifth Avenue to a two-way PBL going down Roosevelt.
Oh, so as a bicycle, I can't keep going on the right-hand side of the road?
You can,
Okay.
but you'll, it will be more efficient for you to be on the north side and that with a two-way
Yeah. Going down
I
Roosevelt.
guarantee that most bicyclists like me will take that. Like, you know, in the reality, right? I'll also say that when you're going, east on 125th, like after you pass Roosevelt, going down that hill right there, there's a couple of pretty gnarly, manhole covers that are sunk in. And if you don't know those are there and you hit them, you could completely wipe out if you're going fast. So try to mediate the manhole covers.
Okay,
And then
that's
also,
really good to know.
going, east across Lake City Way on 125th, like you cross right there, right after you cross Lake City, there's absolutely no room there. There's a bunch of buses. That's like a huge bus stop. There's no way to get past that. You guys have a solution to that?
On there.
Yeah, right there, yeah, where you got all sort of the trees and the red, I don't know what that red. the red-
That's, red is a bus stop.
Yeah, so that's like really difficult to get past on your bike, I can tell you that,
Interesting.
yeah,
So there will be a bike lane there.
okay.
That's what that purple is.
Okay,
And the dash line is kind of where we're transitioning. So it's going to be, that area won't be protected, but there will be a bike lane with parking posts.
yeah. The last thing is that as a person who lives on Denver here, I know that the switch from 2 lanes going both ways on 130th to just 1 lane and center turn lane. What I'm worried about is we're gonna have a bunch of people trying to get to that on-ramp I was talking about. They're just gonna cut through our neighborhood and go up and down Denver, try to get to First and kind of slip in there. So I asked the last people that came, I asked them, did you traffic model this? And how many more people are gonna like take shortcuts to remember it? And they said, we did model it and there's not gonna be a problem. I kind of wonder about that. Thank you.
Thank you for that feedback.
So we live on Third, and we just moved there a few years ago, like right by 130th. And I don't necessarily disagree with right turns only there, but I'm wondering what the extra traffic, people going around, because a lot of people that go to that school, Lakeside, will take Third. And from First, turning left onto 130th, that left turn lane is heavily backed up during peak times. And like, so if you're taking part of the route for Third off of there, that's gonna make that intersection far worse. Like, it's already really bad and people will just go right through that red because it's backed up so far.
That's good to know. That has been discussed. And we did get the request from the neighborhood to make this the third right only out. But this outreach we're doing now, we want to hear from more people about that because there's definitely room for modification there. So that was initially put in because of neighborhood requests. And like I said, we're here to listen to you. And what we hear from you today, we're taking notes and we'll be bringing it back to our team and discussing all these comments.
Okay, and then I just wanted to clarify and make sure I understand. So like going across the interstate, the overpass, that's gonna be 2 lanes only for vehicles, correct?
For well, eastbound, it'll be one general purpose and then one that lane. And then westbound, it will be 2 lanes to start with because we've got the northbound I-5 exit which has 2 lanes turning left there. So it's receiving 2 lanes of traffic, but then that 1 lane is going to fall off as the left turn lane to turn southbound I-5.
So if you stay in the left lane when you come off of the northeast, you're gonna go right back on the freeway.
Well, yeah,
So basically, you're gonna force everybody into the right side lane.
And then the dedicated left turn lane from third northeast to first northeast is only for left turns at First Avenue Northeast, because otherwise you're directing us to turn left into North Acres Park. From first northeast to third northeast, the entrance to the freeway is all North Acres Park. So that left turn lane westbound doesn't mean anything until you get to first northeast, which is gonna choke traffic significantly in that stretch of road.
Yeah.
You're creating a choke point where people are gonna get off the freeway at Northgate. They're gonna come up first northeast, they're gonna go across 125th. They're not gonna get off at 145th because I got a feeling it's gonna be just as about like this, or worse. So you're creating a huge choke point for people to go from the freeway to Greenwood with that configuration. Has anybody been out there to look at it?
No. We have, yes,
So during traffic time?
yes. We actually have quite a few people who live in the area, so they're familiar with the traffic patterns.
What you described, I don't know what they're looking at. Because she's correct. Southbound, First Avenue, that left turn lane, it can take you to go from Roosevelt and 133rd to turn left or go straight down First Northeast. Can take up to 5 lights.
It will back up to the left and get on the interstate, and you can't get it straight, so you can't go right and first. And anytime my five's backed up, one to south, you can wait 3 light cycles to go straight. And that's what it's solid from stoplight to stoplight. There is no room to move until the light changes on first. And you're shrinking it now, and then you're gonna shrink it more with time. So between the first and this, and then it's you upzone that whole area with the new station, you're trying to bring in a bunch of people that are done in their cars. Where are they gonna go? We can't even fit as it is. And you can't fit going down first if I-5's backed up. And now you're taking this away, 145th is backed up. People get off at Northgate to cut through, but first is the road they take. And there's, yeah, they go fast if they can move until they're stopped because they're waiting on stoplight. And it's backed up, stoplight, I mean, you're waiting for lights to get through. It's solid cars. And they around it. Yeah. How many accidents are on 130th at both Meridian and First? There's a ton. Because they're heavily used streets where they go fast, because I've backed up and people need to move.
Thank you for sharing that, and we will bring that back to our team.
I'm a former commercial truck driver. I used to drive semi. And I've seen semi, and I live on First Avenue. I've seen semis come up First Avenue. Just to get around to jam out on 5.
Yeah.
They need signage out there at 117th First. No commercial vehicles beyond this point. And they need enforcement on that, solid enforcement. Otherwise, there's gonna be a problem, even more than these ladies have related. And I've seen traffic like that, north and southbound on First, all the way to 141st, 145th. And the only way those semis can get back on the freeway, if they're going northbound, is to go to 145th. Now to go off Northeast First on the 145th, it ain't gonna work. Not with a 53-foot trailer, and you can lay it out here if you like. I've done 53s, I've done twin 35s, double set. And it's not gonna work. When they get out there on that side street, it's a residential street, it should be posted as residential only. That's all.
Thank you.
Slightly outside of your project, but connected to, I'm wondering what the future is of Fifth Avenue Northeast, because it's been closed, or at least in some directions, ever since the light rail construction began. And I've noticed a huge change in increased traffic through our neighborhood. And some of these traffic problems that people are talking about and people diverting and taking First they might have taken Fifth before. And I'm concerned when I look at this, I see one lane going eastbound and it looks like we're not gonna be able to turn left, which tells me maybe Fifth is not gonna reopen the two-way traffic there. So do you know what the plan is for Fifth?
You are correct that lefts will be restricted eastbound at this location. But the plan is for Fifth to be reopened.
Okay,
There'll be a way for people to drop off other people at the light rail station. And then I believe they're gonna have to come back around and come out.
but you think it's gonna be two-way directions? of
At
traffic?
this intersection, I believe the northbound traffic on Fifth won't be able to get through. Is that through here? Do you recall exactly?
Joe, I know there's still some, people are still kind of planning on what that Fifth Avenue door side of that looks like. There are
I
plans.
probably shouldn't be commenting on that, 'cause I'm not sure.
Well,
I think that,
my comment is, it'd be nice to have that back on the viable route for both directions, because it just helps alleviate traffic problems everywhere else and provides an alternate way. You know, when we're going to northbound I-5, sometimes I used to take 130th, sometimes 145th, and it was nice to have both options, or like going from Northgate up, you know, it was a nice parallel route to not have to be on the freeway. Yeah, that's fine.
We'll have to have a sound transit rep at our next meeting.
Also, just, I guess the companion project to yours is the west section, west of First Avenue. So what's the status of that, and are you going to be presenting on that at some point?
There's actually two projects that are planned, for that west of First on 130th. One is more of an interim, installation, and that is more of just a channelization project for extending the bike lanes farther to the west and continuing, the one lane in each direction with the center turn lane channelization to the west. And then there's another project that's following that. That is a really big project to replace the pavement, west of First all the way down to, northwest of First actually. So that interim project we'll just be doing, like a mill and overlay stuff to, because the pavement's in really bad shape. And it will just hold it over until the big project comes through.
When I was reading the project updates online before this meeting, and they made it sound like they were doing the paving first and then the other.
so the 130 Vision Zero project is the interim one that Janet's talking about. It's happening in a couple different phases. Right now, you'll see out there at Stone and Meridian, we're putting in the curb ramp, so the start to go in. That's kind of the first round. We're, the channelization piece of the street redesign, we're gonna do a similar process where we're gonna come out to y'all, ask how you think about it, we're gonna present with that, what we envision for that one lane in each direction for this interim as we do that. So we'll get more feedback on that, and have a chance to kind of hear some of the pain points there. And then we'll also be paving, but we're very aware of what's happening at 145th with construction there. So we're still kind of figuring out what the sequence of a lot of this work is outside this curb ramp into the channelization paving, to make sure that we don't have both roads blocked up at the same time. And then the 130th West project, kind of that goes all the way First Avenue Northwest that Jan was talking about. Hopefully about the next month or so, we should have that preliminary design ready for you all to look at, similar to what we did with the First Avenue Sherry's Path, and launching that so we can get that early feedback and then start that process. So a lot more to come on both of those than anything kind of west of First Avenue.
Thank you.
Thank you for opening yourself up to input. Wow. I was just wondering if, the overpass over at Flash, if there had been any consideration of putting on ramps and off ramps on the north side of that overpass. Right now, we only have basically south side service. And I know when it was done and how it was done and who funded it. But interesting how that was done, and I don't think it services the whole population. Also, I'm just wondering, all, SDOT people that are here, do you realize what you're hearing from the community is, we already have a real problem, and you're gonna reduce the amount of drivable road surface, which will, what? Help cars move faster? Yeah. Also, are you aware that 7 years ago, when the corridor that you were specifically speaking to from Roosevelt eastbound to Lake City Way was actually reconfigured? That was a very viable 4-lane street. It was reconfigured into basically 3 lanes. So you have 2 lanes that are usable for actual traffic. Now the traffic is backed up from Lake City Way all the way to 3rd Avenue Northwest on any given summer day between June and September. It is impassable. And so most of the people in the Howard community actually choose to move about at certain times of day. They've had to adjust their schedules. So reducing the amount of drivable asphalt on road is not an improvement. Especially when you're talking about reducing the bus movement. So you're going to stop them and stop that traffic on 1 lane and going eastbound, is what it looks like from these winter things. That becomes very problematic. So, I mean, if you're not aware of this, I would just suggest, 1, borrow or buy or rent a bike, ride it from Lake City Way to 3rd Avenue at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock. Also, just reconsider the design. I think, again, the anomalies here, you're going to introduce a whole lot more traffic that's going to flood out into the streets that you don't, you're reducing. Totally negatively impacting this community. So my hope is that you're hearing some of the things that are said and that you will maybe reconsider some of this. I would like to see the stretch going from the freeway to Lake City Way put back to a 4-lane corridor the whole distance, so traffic actually can move. So it's just not about the residents, it's about the people actually riding on the mass transit as well. How they can get home, it affects everybody. So, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
I live on 130th, so I'm really, really nervous about what's come to 130th. But at the same time, it would be really nice if it could open, and if you could get some kind of parking for the light rail station. You just said that you weren't going to do that. I think that's a huge mistake. And somebody said that they came out and did a study on 130th. 125th. I swear they did it during COVID. Because there was no traffic. Now, 130th is back up to full tilt. And that's with 2 directions going, or 2 lanes going each direction. Now you're asking us to choke it down all the way from Lake City to Greenwood, ultimately, with 1 lane each way with a turn lane in the center. I, for one, have a trailer that I have to have my husband back down our street, or our driveway, which comes, well, that's our problem. But if you reduce it down to 1 lane each way, you are going to make it a living hell living here. And we won't stay here if that comes to it.
Your left turn lane from Meridian to the Stoneway, you left turn into a cement wall.
wanted to offer my support. Thanks to for your work. I'd say, you know, a lot of this feedback is coming from the perspective of drivers. As a parent of two young kids who live in the neighborhood, I would say I feel very unsafe taking them out. We live, we're bounded by 130th, 145th, Aurora, and I-5. Makes for very unsafe crossings. I was the first avenue in that list too. You know, I understand everybody's concerns about traffic and driving, but for my kids, I don't want to see a future where that's all we're talking about. I mean, we're getting a brand new light rail station. That most people in our neighborhood will be able to walk to, and I think we all deserve to be able to walk those stations in safety.
Yeah.
I don't see that as a viable future, and I understand the status quo is that, but I mean, looking ahead, I want to see that.
We are out of time. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Drew, you and your crew were absolutely great. Thanks so much. If you can hang around for a little bit, maybe we can take a few more individual questions. I have one more thing to say. We have a walk on Saturday with Kathy Moore, D5 council member, and it's all about walking over to the 130th Street area where we will eventually see light rail. Okay, that is again with Kathy Moore, D5 council member. And we're meeting at 128 and First Northeast. Basically, that is North Acres Park, 11 o'clock Saturday. 11 o'clock on Saturday, this very Saturday. Kathy Moore is also going to be our next speaker in April. And if you got your calendar, it's the first Thursday of April. I don't have the date, I'm sorry to say. Thank you for everybody for coming. Good night.
I'm sure you all. On one of these parts, where you're going to do something.